We are thrilled that Congressman Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, is in the studio, one of the first in a very, very long time. Congressman, welcome to Newsmax. How are you?
Great to be with you. Congratulations on the tremendous success of the show.
Well, thank you, and congratulations to really for everything you're doing for the country and for former President Trump. I think, how do you feel right now overall about your role in what's happening right now?
We are watching as the Democrats are now expanding their indictment beyond just President Trump to his supporters, to the people who showed up in Washington, D.C., not to do any harm, not to breach the Capitol, but to express their displeasure with an election that they believe should have been run by tighter standards. I do think President Trump's defense has missed the opportunity to define the president's concerns about election integrity as entirely proper when you have officials in some of these states unilaterally departing from the law. So now you've got this emotion-based argument driven by the Democrats, and while they're tearing up each and every day, I don't know that they're moving the American people, because the American people would probably like to be the subject of the focus of their government rather than seeing the Democrats obsessed with the former president.
So yesterday wasn't a great day for the lawyers for President Trump. I mean, at least the first one, Mr. Castor. I mean, I found myself, look, I love Team Trump, but I think you could have been a lot stronger. And I think there are people out there who would love to see Matt Gaetz on the defense team. That was actually discussed at one point.
Well, I would have been happy to help the president in any way, but I was watching the Greg Kelly Twitter feed during the opening comments of Mr. Castor, and you just had sort of the tweeted out, because there was a lack of energy, I thought, in the opening remarks. And here's the question. Who's the audience in this impeachment trial? I think Mr. Castor thinks that the audience are the group of senators who are assembled. I think the audience is the country. We have to seize this as an opportunity to show how destructive this group of Democrats is, how unreasonable they're being about legitimate claims over election integrity, because you know what they're going to do legislatively next? They're going to push H.R. 1, which is going to ensconce all of the vessels for fraud into our laws. So this impeachment really is the springboard to a very dangerous legislative agenda, and I think we need to be making a very forceful, zealous defense of everything that the president did, not just having sort of an aw shucks defense saying, gee, I know some senators and I know they're all good people.
Now, that didn't happen yesterday. At least half we just talked about Castor wasn't what we were looking for. You're not worried, though, that more senators aren't going to flip? I mean, Cassidy now is waffling. This thing is, we're going to win this, right?
I do believe that the president has a very high floor here. I think that there's a very low likelihood that you'll see a regression off of the position that this is an unconstitutional impeachment. But you can never take your position in any trial for granted. And here I think you saw some improper lawyering result in a regression of the president's position, losing Senator Cassidy.
Let's take a look at Bruce Castor in action. This is from yesterday. Go ahead, please.
Before I begin, I want to comment on the outstanding presentation from our opponents and the emotion that certainly welled up in Congressman Raskin. I was struck. I thought the House managers who spoke earlier were brilliant speakers. And I made some notes, and they'll hear about what I think about some of the things they said later when I'm closing the case. But I thought they were brilliant speakers, and I loved listening to them.
Listen, we need an attack dog, not a cat bath. He was giving him a cat bath up there, and we ought to be pointing out the hypocrisy, Greg, the fact that these Democrats are trying to hold the former president to a standard that they themselves cannot live by. That should have been the forceful defense of the president. Instead, we got this very kind of aw shucks approach that I don't think played well in the well of the Senate or throughout America.
Well, we've seen you be very, very aggressive. We know you wouldn't have done that. Unfortunately, the rules don't allow it, but you're still confident he will be not convicted.
Oh, yeah. He's not going to be convicted. There's not going to be some action against Trump here. This is all about the Democrats having to obsess over Trump because they don't really have an agenda to help regular Americans.
And censure and possibly keeping him out of office in 2024, is that a pipe dream that the Democrats have?
I do think they're scared of him, Greg. I think that the animating factor here is also a fear that Donald Trump will come back stronger than ever before. and that's why they're doing it.
You know, I thought everything was supposed to go back to normal, they told us. Our precious norms would be restored as soon as Donald Trump left. Well, things seem weirder than ever.
Normal for them is a deranged focus on Donald Trump. This is their normal.
All right, so listen, you've been going out to Wyoming quite a bit, I believe. There is one member of the House, Liz Cheney, who represents. She, of course, was in favor of impeachment. I believe she still has a leadership role in the House of Representatives. You obviously don't like that. A lot of folks don't like that. What's the latest?
Well, Wyoming will have to do what Washington could not, and that means removing Liz Cheney. You see, in the 8 square miles of Washington, D.C., in the swamp, Liz Cheney is on her home turf. And it's true that 2/3 of the Republicans in Congress backed Liz Cheney as our continuing spokesperson. And what did she do right after that vote? She went out on the Sunday shows. She attacked Donald Trump. She said that he won't have a role in our party moving forward. And that is just deflating to the people who actually give energy to our movement and who will be the folks we rely on to win elections going forward. So I don't believe Liz Cheney should be in our leadership. She certainly does not speak for me, but it should trouble all Americans that actually inside the Republican caucus of the House of Representatives, Liz Cheney is quite popular.
Finally, if Donald Trump is able to come back, I would like to see him govern a bit differently in terms of personnel. You know, a lot of us have been frustrated by some of the establishment figures that he relied on. We won't name names. You probably know a little bit of who I'm talking about. But he kind of went to the usual suspects in staffing the White House. You think he's learned a lot since and regrets that and would do things differently?
Well, the beauty of a second Trump term would be the knowledge the president has acquired regarding who's really with him. Because, you know, this is a guy who came in from New York, who wasn't a creature of the swamp. And just like the alligators in Florida, the swamp creatures in Washington, D.C. have spent millennia adapting and adjusting to their environment. And there was a lot of the Trump agenda that we saw through the vision of the president, but the bureaucracy didn't always bend to his will. Even though that was the case, I mean, this is a guy who built, you know, hundreds of miles of wall. He created a total rapprochement in the Middle East. He reignited the American economy, reset our trade deals, but I think he could do even more if that advice you just gave is followed and we have an even more America first focus on the personnel side of the government.
What were you like in high school? Were you on the student council and stuff like that? Did you always see yourself in politics someday?
I was the captain of the debate team in high school. I know that'll shock you. And I know what you're thinking. All the girls wanted to go to homecoming with the captain of the debate team, right?
Well, I don't know. What'd you look like back then?
You know what? I'm told I get better looking by the day, but that's only by my fiance.
Your fiance? Yeah. Can you tell us real quick when's the date?
Listen, it's true MAGA love. I met her at Mar-a-Lago, proposed at Mar-a-Lago, and we're going to get married in 2022.
Fabulous. What's her name?
Ginger.
Congratulations. Our best to Ginger. Anything in your immediate future or other than the marriage that we should know about?
I think that the fight in Washington is going to be a very dirty one. You see the Democrats right now doing everything they can to centralize power. And what I worry about, Greg, is if we allow that to happen, it'll be ever the more difficult to have clean elections and to ensure that candidates with the populist energy that brought victory to our president will be available to ensure the best days would still be ahead for America.
Congressman Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida. Thank you.
All right, my man.
COVID handshake. We'll be right back.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see on Newsmax TV. You can watch for free right here on our YouTube live stream and be the first one here each time our experts break down real news. Just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and stay with us on America's fastest growing cable news channel, Newsmax TV.